I'm Amy Dolan, and this is the Feeding People podcast. Welcome to our very first episode of the Feeding People podcast. This is so exciting. We're at the table tonight. We've got a beautiful meal, a beautiful guest, good conversation. It's going to be such a great time. I'm Amy Dolan. I'm your host, and I really do believe the best conversations happen around the table with people you love, and you've got food, and you're really talking and showing yourself. And so that's what we're going to explore on the Feeding People podcast. I'm so happy for my very first guest who's with me at the table right now, my good friend, Chi Okwu. Hi, Chi.
Hi. It's great to be here.
It's so good to have you at the table. Chi and I have known each other for a while now. We used to work together. We started a cooking club together with our friend Erica, where we got together every month and made food and talked and drank wine and all of that good stuff. I feel like at some point the cooking club turned into the donut club, where we would like meet at stands for donuts.
It's had a couple of different iterations, but I think it matches like what we need for that certain season of life. So, and right now we're in the donut or just bottles of wine club.
Yes. I love that.
Which is great.
It's kind of a great club. I love that. But I mean, you're just an amazing friend. I love you so much. And thank you so much for doing this. You're the perfect first guest.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So that's my introduction of you.
Oh, great.
How would you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Chi, and I live in Chicago. I love food, and I love to travel. And so when I travel on my own, I really plan all of my trips. Some people are like, oh, these are all the things I want to see. I'm like, oh, these are all the things I want to eat. So food is very important to me. Yes. And so, and I work for a humanitarian organization. So, and just really passionate about justice issues. And, but I find like, no matter what I'm talking about, like food really is at the center of a lot of different passions of mine. So it's exciting that you're starting this podcast, and I'm excited to hear the future conversations and just to be a part of it. So, yeah.
So good. You really do think about food all the time. That's one of the things I love most about you. You're thinking of recipes. You're thinking of your next restaurant. Mm-hmm. I love that about you.
Yeah, I love it. It's my happy place on Sundays, like picking out recipes for the week and planning those. So that's always like, yeah, it's really fun. So
great. So tonight we're at the table eating dinner. I made you a special meal, and
so good.
This is a butternut squash pasta with a little bit of mint and feta cheese. And this is from the author of the cookbook Love and Lemons. And I don't even know if you remember this, but you gave me this cookbook a couple years ago for my birthday, and it's one of my favorites. Like, I go to it all the time. You've given me so many good gifts, I'm sure. But this is like one of my favorite things you've given me. And so I wanted to make a recipe from this author as like a thank you for introducing me to her and just giving me one of my favorite cookbooks. Thank you.
It's so funny. I thought you gave it to me. I was just going to say, I love this cookbook so much because you gave it to me.
Maybe I did.
I don't know. I think you did. Well, anyway, we both have it. It's awesome. And that's so sweet.
I didn't re-gift it though, because I still have it.
I'm not saying you did. I was just like, I thought you gave that to me, but I love that cookbook.
How are you enjoying your dinner?
It's so good. I'm on a really big butternut squash kick right now. So that was really exciting to see that in the pasta. Love it. Butternut squash and sweet potato.
Right?
Those are like
so good.
My jam right now. So the pasta is amazing. I'm loving every bite of it right now.
Good. I'm glad you're liking it so much. This is great. Okay, so tell us, what is the best meal you have ever had? I'm sure this is an impossible question, but like describe it. Describe the scene for us. Like, who were you with? What did you eat? Where were you? I mean, could be in like a super fancy restaurant, or maybe it was like in your home. What's the best meal you've ever had?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I've had a lot of great meals. and a lot of times it's about people and, the atmosphere. But I think it would be at a restaurant called 42 Grams. It is now closed, which is really sad. But I was with a dear friend of mine, and we sometimes do like these holiday dinners where we decide like a restaurant we want to go to. So it was a husband and wife. The wife was a host. The husband was the chef. And I mean, there were two other staff people there. I mean, they had a sous chef and then someone to help with all the dishes and stuff. But there were 6 people inside. So you kind of bought a ticket to like sit at this counter. You got to watch them cook. And they explained every single like recipe, every single meal, told you how to eat it. And and so you're sitting with these people that you don't really know. And by the end of the meal, we were all like laughing and like we had known each other forever because we shared this amazing meal together. And the food was just, I can still like, even like now talking about it, I feel like I can taste it again, but it was just so beautiful. And what was so awesome about it was like, that we started out as strangers, and at the end of it, we're all laughing, and like some people were from out of town, and it was just like, we want to like go hang out, because we've had this amazing experience together, which was just about food, and it was so powerful and so beautiful. And I remember it was snowing outside, it was like cold, and it was just like a perfect night. So. And just a story behind it. And they have this beautiful wall where every meal they save the corks from the wine and they put it up on this wall. So there's this amazing design, and they were filling in this entire wall. So you could kind of see and almost feel like all the other people that had came and eaten before you, like in this like really tiny, little spot. But it was just beautiful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It was awesome.
That's amazing. I feel like in your description, I can just see it all and feel it all. And that is like the power of food. Right? I love that you said that, because it is, when you're all eating the same food, it's such a connection. You're all right. Strangers become friends because you have experienced the same food. Yeah. That's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. And I don't know how it happens every time, but we have this common, this common activity, this common like experience, and then everybody is just connected, and it's just, it's powerful. Oh. So that would be in my top 3. So.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That's going to be our next show, the other 2.
Right.
We'll just talk about the other
There's
2 experiences.
There's so many. I love it though.
Well, that is what this show is about, the power of food and the magic and the love and the beauty found in food, whether you're a great cook or you're a terrible cook, but a great eater. I mean, great eaters are my favorite people, right?
Yes. I love great eaters. Yeah. And I love picky eaters too, because that's a challenge, right? Like when you have people over and they give you like, I look at it as a challenge, it's like, okay, what can I create that will feed everyone and people will be excited about, and it meets like their needs. So even that, because sometimes at the beginning I'd be like, have vegetarian or gluten-free. But it's a part of all of it. And it's a way of showing that you care too. Like I'm going to create something that will nourish you. And so we can all sit at the table together, and you don't have to eat nuts in the corner.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So could we please just make a campaign like, when you host, do not make the people with allergies sit in the corner eating nothing.
Exactly. Or feel bad about that. I think that's like one of the, that's such a sad thing. But yeah, I love the challenge of it.
Yeah, it's so great. So that's what we're going to talk about. That's what this show is going to be about. The power and the beauty and the magic found in food, and how we can be thoughtful in it, what it has meant to us. And we're doing it at the table, just like we've had a million conversations, Chi, about food and cooking and gathering and life. I mean, right? We use cooking club as an excuse just to sit together at the table and talk about life. And so that's what we're doing tonight. And so our conversation is going to be really raw. I hope everyone enjoys hearing just the two of us talk. And who knows what we're going to say, right? We're going to share some personal stories. We may use some language. I know. Never. Look out, everyone. We might drop our forks. Who knows? But that's the power of the table. The magic of the table to me is you're sitting eye to eye. You're eating the same food. Someone has put time and energy and thought into your food, and you're able to have a real conversation and be vulnerable and see the beauty in the other person as you look across the table and really listen to what they're saying. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm curious. always curious to know how people were shaped by food in their childhoods, because we all were, right? Like I think about this a lot in my own childhood because I just think about food all the time. But I'm always curious to know what food was like for people growing up, and then like how that influences what they think about cooking or hosting or eating today. So give us a little window into like your childhood. What was food like in your family? What did you learn about food growing up?
Yeah, so my parents are from Nigeria, so I had this very interesting dynamic where food is really like one of those things that really helps you define your culture, and it helps you to carry your culture into a new country. So people hold on to that really tightly. So when I was growing up, there was always that challenge of my parents loved their traditional food, and so we ate a lot of that. But it was interesting because, I grew up in the South, and, I'd have friends over, and the food that my mom would cook would be weird to them. They were used to like the mac and cheese and the hot dogs, and, we were eating different types of food. And so, the first part of my life, I really shunned our cultural food because I was embarrassed by it. I wanted to be, people wanted to go to the house where they had all the, the normal quote unquote, snacks and the normal types of food. And so, so I really struggled with that. But we did a mix of, traditional Nigerian food, and my mom was also very healthy. So, we didn't have a lot of junk food in the house, but my mom was a really great cook, and she loved to cook for people. My parents had a Nigerian house church. And so once a week we would have this massive meal, like all this like different food was brought in, and my mom would cook like a ton of food. It was at our house. And so I just remember Sunday nights there would just be these tables and tables of food, everywhere.
Wow.
Like rice and stew is like a really like common type of food, or these fried dough buns, and like all kind. Just like, there's goat meat, lamb meat, all kinds of stuff just everywhere. And so I remember that just feeling like I got a sense of, who my parents were and how they grew up, and the stories that would come from, the types of food that they loved. So that was always really special. I also remember coming home from school, my mom would always make homemade applesauce. And so that's such like a, random thing, but when I think about my childhood, that's like, coming home from school, that was like our snack, and she would make like cookies and, all these things. But she was very, loved cooking for people, and still does, if someone's sick or, has a baby, she's like one of the first people to like take him a loaf of bread, or, that's like her love language, the way that, she expresses love. And even to me, when I come home, she's like, okay, what do you want to eat? And so that's her thing. And so, growing up, food was a big part of our lives. Like, Sunday dinners, we ate most of our dinners at, home as children, and that was always really special. But yeah, there was a lot of food and a lot of cultural learning from our food, which was really, really fun and a struggle. But also, now that I look back, I appreciate it so much, and it's something that I really am trying to carry forward, like I'm asking her I have like all these written down recipes now of like things that, she cooked before, because there are no cookbooks for this. So it's just stuff you write down. So that's really special to me.
That is so beautiful. That's just so beautiful. Yeah. I can see all that in you, and the way that you gather people and you make big meals for people. And it's really, really beautiful. What a special part of your childhood to have.
Yeah. And it's even funny talking about it, because I'm like, oh yeah, I am a lot more like my mom in that way. Like I don't know that I wanted to be that when I was a kid, but now I see that, like that is one way I feel like I try to show love to people, is by like cooking or, creating something, food for them. Like I don't draw, I don't do those kind of things, but I feel like cooking is like my, creative therapy outlet, So, and I think that it was like that for my mom too, and still is. Yeah.
So good. I have I mean, we grew up in different families, obviously, but
yeah, we're sisters.
But I have similar memories of big extended family getting together every week. My mom is Jewish, and her entire side of the family is Jewish. And so we were raised with certain Jewish traditions, which I just, as a kid, right, you just don't appreciate these things. Now I'm so thankful for this. And I feel like some of my love of food comes from the Jewish part of me, and I love that so much. But every Friday night, my great grandma and my great grandpa, they had a little tiny apartment in the city. They would have the whole family come over, and they used to cook. And then as they got older, they would order like giant buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's my memory of like these giant buckets of fried chicken from KFC. It was so awesome. And it was like all the aunts and uncles, all the cousins, everyone in their tiny, tiny city apartment. I can still remember like the smell of the apartment and everyone being there and all the loud energy. And right, as a kid, I was like, when are we going home to watch cartoons? It's Friday night. But now I'm just like, I'm so thankful that this is part of my childhood, right? Yeah. It really does influence us.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, some of your strongest memories are about some meal or something like that you love so much, or a time when everybody came together to eat something, or sitting around a table. And that's just it's so beautiful. Like it's ingrained in your memory, those things, and you carry that on. And so now like you'll have a certain meal and you're immediately like transported back to that special time, which I love. And I love too, you were talking about like the Jewish culture, I think it's those are the things that I find so beautiful, like those the cultural lessons that we get from just food, things the essence that you can never get from a history book or, but you really begin to understand, sometimes even unspoken, just by sitting around a table and enjoying, a meal together.
That's so true. And there's such pride in most of our families, right? I know it's not true for everyone, but in most of our families, there's such pride in like handing down recipes and traditions. When my mom makes the challah bread, she'll tell me, that, Grandma Fanny would do it like this, and this was her secret. And in the kugel, we don't put raisins, even though Grandma Fanny sometimes wanted raisins, and I love that, like just the pride in our culture and our families and how we pass it down to each other through food.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's great, right? Okay, so given that, what does food mean to you today when you think about enjoying a meal, or specifically when you think about cooking for someone you love? What does food mean to you?
I think it's, especially when I'm cooking for people, I like to think about, I spend a lot of time thinking like, what would they like, and it's kind of like giving a gift to somebody, you think about like, what are the things they enjoy, the types of food. I think it's like an act of love. It really is. And I feel like when I'm eating food, I'm experiencing love. Even if I don't really understand know that person, I'm experiencing their passion, their love. Even if it's at a great restaurant or if I'm in someone's home, like it's the same thing. Like, someone put, their heart into this, and in a weird way, you sense that, you feel that, even like, when I travel, and I'm in a place where there's a lot of poverty, and people will, you walk into their home and they will give you the best of what they have. And in that moment, I feel like hospitality takes on this new level, like where I feel almost like overwhelmed with love. And it's just by this one act of like, here's a chicken that we had. And they may only have one more for a family of 6. And then, but they're presenting this chicken to you. Yes. And it can be the most basic meal, but it is the most beautiful thing. And they could tell you, I love you, but that in that moment, they're just showing you all this honor and this love and this appreciation that's just overwhelming. And so I feel like when I'm sitting enjoying a meal, it's like I'm experiencing all the things that went into that, whether it's someone's like masterful creativity or just their sacrifice in that, like it's all of that is just, it's beautiful and it's hard to really describe it. And I try to do that, when I cook for people, that, I'm thinking through like, what are people going to love and enjoy, and how will they get excited about that, And that's why it's hard sometimes, because when, people don't like it, you're like, oh, well, okay. But
they don't know good food
right,
anyway.
Exactly. That's on you.
Say.
That's on you. It's not me. I did my part.
Every single one of my meals is perfect, so I'm not sure what's going on with you.
But it's such an intimate thing, and you learn so much about people too. People sharing. I've had Shabbat with a Orthodox Jewish family, and I was like, I learned so much in that moment, and just about their perspective on the world and all those things. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I love food, so I put a lot of thought into this, but I do think it's such an intimate thing. And in almost every religion that we look at, every culture, there is this strong connection to food. When we're talking about, that's one way we pass down our stories, is through food. And so I love to try to find that thread, if I'm in a different country or if I'm just with a family that I don't know very well, but the food speaks to you, no matter how simple or how elaborate it is, it speaks. And so I think it's just up to us to listen to what it's saying,
Stop it. You did not just say that. It's up to us to listen to the
I think
food.
So. I think
oh
so.
my gosh.
I think it's really. I think there's a powerful message there, for everything, every meal, and that's just such a unique way to connect with people,
Yes. Okay, that was wow. I love what you just said. It made me think about how when we pay attention to the seasonality of food, how that's like a really new thing for me, because I grew up with privilege where I could just buy whatever I wanted whenever I wanted, and now as an adult with my own money, I'm like,
wait, how much?
Blueberries in winter. We're not gonna do that.
No.
But it's actually so rewarding to pay attention to the food, and by season, there's so much creativity. I love summer, and I'm so already totally down. That it
devastated
is
that the word? That's the word.
I've been trying to pay attention this fall to just the produce and let that guide my meals, and it has been so fulfilling. Yeah, that's been really lovely.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? Weird where I feel like you we're talking about butternut squash. It tastes like candy right now.
Perfection.
It's so beautiful. There's certain things that are just so alive that, don't really taste the same in the summer or in the spring or,
right.
Like blueberries in the summer. Oh my gosh.
I mean, a good tomato.
We can have a whole episode on just blueberries and tomatoes and all the summer amazingness.
Okay, let's change this show to the feeding people in summer.
Yes, only in the summer. This is the best.
Executive decision made.
Done.
So I just love you so much, Chi. How many times can I say that on this show? I love what you're saying. I love your perspective of food. It's just so beautiful. So we're talking, obviously the show is feeding people. And my hope in this so you and I, we think about food. We think about feeding people all the time. But what I really hope is that anybody who wants to feed people can feed people. That you wouldn't think, oh, I'm not a great cook, or I don't have a huge table, or I don't have a huge house, or I don't like my house, or I don't actually know people to come over, whatever, right? I'm saying those things, and I can think of all the times in my life I felt that way. Mm-hmm. And what I really hope is that people just can at some point think, no, food is power and beauty and love, and whatever it is you have, if you can order a great Chinese takeout dinner, order a great Chinese takeout dinner and invite someone over to sit on your couch and eat it, right? Yes. So that you can experience the magic of food with someone you love and feed someone with beautiful takeout, right? So how do you feed people in your life today? How do you feed, do you feed people at work? Do you feed your friends? Do you feed your family?
I don't know what just happened.
How do you express love and feed people in your life today?
Yeah, I think in so many different ways. And I think it also just depends on my current state, where I am and what that looks like. There's sometimes when, I have the time and the energy to put into, an elaborate meal or, and there's sometimes like, it's like, oh yeah, come over, but I'm ordering Indian. That's and right. Everyone's going to sit around like it. Yep. And I think it's really about creating a space where people know that they're wanted and where they belong. Like that's, hands down, like, and I think when we invite people into, whether we're inviting them into our own space or we're sitting and sharing Stan's donuts together, there's something about, just making sure that everybody knows that they belong there, that they're wanted there. And so I love what you said. It can mean any of those things, but at my best, when I'm at my best, I love to plan out meals and, and look for opportunities to, share that with people, like I'm going home in a couple of weeks, for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And I'm already thinking through, okay, what am I going to cook? And I usually do Christmas Eve dinner. And so I get so excited. I'm already thinking about what is that going to be, because I want my whole entire family to be able to sit and rest and just for us to have amazing conversation and for us to linger around the table. And so what am I going to cook so that we can pass around together and just connect because we haven't seen each other in a long time. So that for me is that's like my act of love. And I feel like my big gift to my family, like around Christmas. So I think everybody has their thing. And so it's like, how do we give that to people and how do we share that with people? And again, it looks different at every, and we have to give ourselves grace, like if I'm going through a really busy season, there's going to be a lot of takeout happening and that's okay, but taking that moment to slow down and just to connect with people is still the most important thing. Because yes, we need to eat for nourishment, but we also need to connect for nourishment, and so if we can do both of those at the same time, I think that is, one of the most powerful things. And especially in our culture today, like we just kind of push through things, and we, everything's so fast. And one of the things I love, like, when I travel is like people do slow meals, especially like, like in Europe and places like that. They just linger. There's no rush to get away from the table. And that's so beautiful. And so And it's hard. Our cultures aren't really built around that. But anytime we can create that space for people, I think that's what people remember. Like even when we were talking about our family meals, like those were the long, the long meals when we just all got to sit around and, kind of graze and all those kind of things. So you can create that space, whether you're cooking something or you're ordering something, but it's like being intentional about that. I mean, you can have that over a cheese plate, like a cheese plate and a bottle of wine, and you're like, okay.
It especially happens over a cheese plate.
Exactly. So, I mean, I love cheese, and that is
I love cheese.
That's one of my love languages. But but I think it doesn't have to be elaborate, but it has to be intentional. I think that's like the powerful thing about bringing people to the table is it has to be intentional.
Yes. Oh, I love that because you really do. I think it's important to think about what it is that you do have, right? That's what you're saying. What is the season of your life? Yeah. What is the state of your house? What do you have, right?
Yes.
Years and years and years ago, I realized I wanted to cook for people. This is how I could express love. And we had a tiny apartment, right? When we first moved to the city, we had one tiny little bedroom and one tiny little island. And I remember when I was like, I had no shame. I invited two of our friends over from the suburbs. They took this super long trip out. And I was like, welcome to my kitchen stools at my island. You will eat the brisket here. And hopefully the plates won't fall off the table because there's no room. And I was like as proud as could be that I had made this brisket all day and that like the four of us were literally on top of each other. And I just kept thinking like they live in the suburbs, like they have a giant table and a giant house. Right. And this guy is a great cook. And it was like, you know what? This is what I've got. This is what I've got. This is a family brisket and here are my kitchen stools and let's go, right? Yeah. You just got to think, right, where you're at and what you have to offer and how you can express love as yourself, right? Like one of my favorite things, I feel like my love language is being invited over to someone's house for dinner because there is nothing like I I feel like now I'm like trying to get it. Like if I, like at Sunday supper church, if I hear, this happened last week, I heard like two couples making plans and I like scooted myself over there so fast. And I was like, when is this dinner happening?
I will be there.
Oh, tomorrow? Oh, totally free tomorrow night. What are you all making? But like going to someone's house for dinner is my favorite thing in the world because you're right. It's so intimate. They put so much time and thought into the grocery shopping and the meal and sitting together. And you get to see their life in a way you would never get to see.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I was just going to say, I've had such amazing times at your little island with the stools. Like, I mean, some of my most like life transforming moments have happened there, you know, and just, it's so beautiful. Yeah. And I think that like a lot of times, especially like in the city, I think we let the size of our places like determine, you know, whether or not we want people to come in because we feel like it's not nice enough or it's not big enough or whatever. But it's always enough. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, you can always create that space. And again, it's about, you know, telling people like, you belong here, you know, and we're going to connect here. And it doesn't matter how big your table is. It just matters that you have a spot, and it can be a coffee table, or it can be your lap sitting on a couch, you know,
sitting on a couch feels like such a luxury as an adult. You're like, I am sitting on the couch for dinner and nobody's going to stop me.
Yeah. And it's just beautiful. It's about the people that you're with. So yeah,
I love that. I really do hope that everyone who wants to feed people can be inspired to say, what is it? Who am I? What do I have to offer? And how can I show love by feeding people? It's really, really special thing to do.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right. So this has been so great. I want to do a little bit of a lightning round. Okay. What is your favorite cookbook?
Oh boy. This is like the perfect restaurant question. One of my favorites in my top 3 is called Jerusalem. And it's just a beautiful cookbook. I mean, the pictures are amazing, but the stories in it are amazing. Every recipe comes with like this story and this history that's just stunning. And I feel like I learn every time. I like to just read cookbooks sometimes.
Yes, me too.
Can I choose 2?
Sure.
Okay. I also love Cravings by Chrissy Teigen. I mean,
you know, you have said that forever.
Yeah.
I really need to get that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because literally she hits every spot that it's not healthy by any means. And she's not even trying to be. And I love it. But it's just about amazing, good food. And it just makes you feel happy. It's like over the top. Like she has like this tomato soup with like grilled cheese croutons. I mean, are you kidding me?
Stop.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the kind of stuff that you're just like, yes, and more, please. So I love it. And I love that she cooks for the home cook. Like everything she's done in there, it's like you can do that in your kitchen. It's not complicated, but her book, it just makes me happy.
I really need to get that. There. You have really enjoyed that book for a long time.
Yeah, I made some stuff for one of your birthdays from there.
I remember. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Happy birthday. See, I do like parties. Threes can party too. Just making sure we're part of the planning of it.
Threes can party too. I love it. You came up with that whole menu. That was amazing.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a group effort.
No, you came up with the whole menu. That was so good. Okay, so we love Chicago, right?
Love
we just
it.
Anyway, we love Chicago. For people who don't live in Chicago, where must they eat? I mean, when they come to visit Chicago, because everyone must visit Chicago in their lives. Where must they eat, according to Chi?
Oh, according to me, wow. Everywhere, as many places as possible. Okay, so I think that you should definitely eat at a Vec.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites. It's been around for a long time. I think you should eat at any restaurant you can get into that Stephanie Izzard runs. I think that it's just amazing.
Which is your favorite of the 3?
Oh man, Girl and the Goat.
The original.
Goat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love Duck Duck Goat too.
And Little Goat.
I know. See, this is where it gets so hard. But yeah, you should eat all of those. And I think also you should try different neighborhoods. And honestly, like, I mean, you can go to Pilsen and just stop in almost anywhere and the food's going to be amazing.
Yes.
So I think going off the beaten path and getting away from downtown and really kind of getting into the different communities and the different expressions of food. Chinatown. Okay. See, this is the problem. I'm just going to stop because there's so many great places. But most people, they come here and they want to eat pizza, deep dish, which is great.
Yes.
So do that. My favorite deep dish, in case you were wondering, is Pequod's. So again, it's not one of your typical, but that's usually where people want to go, like where I take them. But I try to get them in other places because Chicago is like the best food city.
The best food city. I mean, don't you feel like we'll need like 5 more lifetimes to eat?
Yeah.
And you've been everywhere. That's the thing. But do you feel like there's still so much you haven't? I can't keep up
anymore. I can't even keep up. Like, I feel like and this is a hard thing because I want, when I want to cook, but I also want to go out to eat all the time, and I can't eat that much. So maybe I'll get another stomach in my next lifetime or something, so I can have like 2 meals every meal. That would be amazing. I hope God's listening.
You should do like the 6-meal day.
Yes.
Why only 3 meals? Let's do 6.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
We have so many ideas.
Yes, these are great.
Those are great suggestions. And also, I would like to offer you as like a tour guide when people come to Chicago to take them to
for sure.
restaurants.
If you want to pay for all my meals, I will totally take you around, and I will give you the best experience ever.
You heard it here. Feeding People podcast,
just for
everyone.
A minimal fee.
Oh my gosh, Chi Chi, this has been so great.
It's so fun.
I love your heart for food. I love the way that you feed people. I love the way you think about food all the time. I love the way you fed me on so many different occasions. And it's just really, really special to have you on for our first show.
Thanks.
Let's end this thing with a final word of wisdom from Chi Chi. What do you want to say to people about feeding people and using food to communicate love and beauty?
I think you should do it and do it often as much as possible. Create that space. It's something we have to do every day. So think about the opportunities where you can eat great food with great people. I think that's whatever that looks like for you. I think try to be intentional about that, figure that out, but do it often because life is short and it's too short to eat bad food.
Oh, too short to eat bad food. That was brilliance. Thank you so much, Chi Chi. This has been great.
It's so fun.